Hey, what's up YouTube? In this video, we are deleting my city. Just kidding. But it is time that we upgraded it. Before we get into that though, here is every single build that we added into the city in the past month. We have a doctor's office, a candy store, Zaxby's, a convenience store, a skyscraper office building, a tennis arena, a car mechanic garage, I still don't know what to call it, and most impressively, this giant AI high school, which some have called a college campus. All of these builds were of course added into the city, and where in the city did all of these builds go, I hear you ask? Where did they go in the city? Let me show you. The doctor's office regrettably got added into the modern suburbs. The candy store into the new suburban suburbs. So did Zaxby's. The convenience store. The mechanic's garage car repair facility. And the tennis arena. The modern skyscraper office building got added downtown. And the AI high school, of course, got put into storage because it is an AI building and eventually we have plans for those. And now we come back to the start of the video. I want to delete my city, or at least parts of it, and rebuild it. Bigger, better, stronger, cuter. But TSMC, you may ask, why? You've been lovingly crafting this city for probably years now. And therein lies the problem. Whilst I really like some parts of my city, such as the new suburban suburbs, and there are other loads of little bits that I love as well, such as the original suburbs with McDonald's, the school, the church. But here's some things that I don't like. This giant modern mansion is kind of just like an eyesore. Connected to that is a train station that doesn't go anywhere. As a matter of fact, the modern suburbs in general are kind of a mess. It doesn't feel as though that there's much cohesion here at all. The same kind of goes for downtown. Whilst I do like this high street here, as you start to expand out, it just gets really messy. So what I'm doing is this. Starting with the outer edges of the city, I am going to rebuild areas that I'm not happy with. I think that the best place to start this city rebuilding experiment is with an area that is barely connected to the city. Enter the frame, our farm. The initial plan for the renovation was to combine our farm, wind farm, and solar farm into one cohesive build, or at the very least a set of builds that flowed nicely into each other rather than just being stuck in this little weird trio that we have right now. It's kind of like some sort of weird farm cul-de-sac. I began by moving the wind farm behind our actual farm and increasing the amount of windmills. I then thought to myself, why do you always see pylons near farmers' fields and just fields in general? And why doesn't my farm have any pylons? Well, there's an easy way to solve that problem. But first, I needed more fields. I started off by just copy and pasting the actual initial field that you can see on the farm, just to get a bit of an idea of a land layout really. I then realised that just adding 2 additional fields was not as satisfactory, so I added more. And then I realised that we needed paths between the fields. And the terrain around the farm wouldn't just be grass, that'd be insanity. We need trees and plant life and wildlife. And that is when I decided to ditch the solar farm. I decided that we could incorporate the solar farm into a different part of the city. But in its place, you guys know I love Easter eggs. Chocolate and otherwise. I moved the Plantar family farm in between our wind farm and our regular farm, and I tactfully hid it in amongst trees and hills. I also got it into my mind that I want the motorway to connect directly to this point in the build where the grey road and the stone road intersect. I want a roundabout which then leads on to a motorway or highway. I did later scrap that idea, however, but a huge part of the city renovation project will be making sure that our highways and roads do actually connect together and go somewhere. A lot of this part of the video is figuring out where all of the fields are going to go, how big they are, and making sure that there's enough space in between them so that we can add roads, hedges, and fence. You may notice that I'm also still hung up on the idea of having a roundabout which connects directly to a motorway right next to the farm, which I really don't like the idea of now that I'm watching it myself. But in the moment you have all kinds of crazy ideas. Enter into the frame another seldom used build: the power pole, the telephone pole, the electric pole. I can't remember what these things are called, but I can guarantee it's one of those. I want to incorporate more pylons and utilitarian builds like the telephone pole into the city. It would make sense that we see more of these. Figuring out the farmland situation was incredibly helpful. It really helped to narrow my focus. From there, I added a green terracotta hedge in front of the farm, which then in turn allowed me to place that cyan terracotta road that you might be able to see. This is going to be a main road that leads to, well, everywhere else, whereas the grey concrete road leads into the farm and the power station, and the stone road leads directly into the farm. On the opposite side of the grey concrete, there will just be a bunch of hills and greenery and trees. This did lead to another issue, however: the actual farmland itself. Initially, I was just going to copy the farmland that we have on the farm, the wheat and the kind of like half-harvested field. But that didn't really make too much sense. So, closer to the farm, I added some harvested fields. And as we expand out, I figured that we could just have big wheat fields. But in the future, I kind of want to do a field tutorial, so that I can upgrade these fields even further, and make them even nicer. I also kind of thought to myself that the pylon probably wouldn't just be there randomly in the middle of the field, so I added kind of a fence around it and a small path. Later on, I will isolate it even further, and we'll have a couple of interesting parts of farmland around here. I also added either hedging in the form of leaves or terracotta, and some fence around all of our little plots of farmland. Initially, I wanted to make everything all uniform and nice and the same, but when have you ever seen farmland that is like identical? Like all of the fields are weird shapes and they have like nature and all sorts of weird stuff in them, so I wasn't stressing too hard about making them all identical. Also, I don't know if there is an easier way to do this, but I manually planted an entire wheat field. I'm gonna have to look into this, but I'm pretty sure I have done in the past, and I don't think that there is an easier way around it. But I manually planted a wheat field, which took an insane amount of time, and then I just waited for it to grow, and then I just copied and pasted it into the other fields that I wanted wheat in. Which was actually so annoying, by the way. We'll take a closer look at everything that I've made after the time-lapse, but next to the pylon, I decided that I wanted to add something a bit different. To the left of the pylon, I added some beehives, and to the right of the pylon, we have a pretty big field, so I thought that I would add just a bunch of pigs here. So, pigs always have those weird-looking metal-y dome houses, so I added a bunch of those into the field. I also added a couple of watering holes. I kind of tore the field up a little bit, added some coarse dirt, added a bit of brown concrete, a tree, and I added some troughs in the middle, and I thought that that just looked perfect, and it was really, really simple to make. The only thing left to do was to kind of just clean up all of the mess that was left. So I added some more windmills in the back to help further balance things out. I cleaned up the fields that they were in. Anywhere that I left kind of like weird holes in the environment, I fixed those, added fences, added gates where necessary, removed all of these structure blocks such as the gold that you can see. And I also just extended our hill and forest area more so towards the actual main road. So this is it. This is the renovation complete for now. We are still missing a bunch of details, but we will add those once this is in its final place. Spoiler alert, we still have more to do. So I don't want to start adding mobs and item frames and all sorts of other things that would get removed when I eventually have to copy and paste this somewhere else. But for now, this is the main road entering the farms area. And this is the road that leads us all the way up into the power station if we chose to go that way. But first, we have our actual farm. This already feels just so much better. It feels far more immersive with some different kinds of hedging and the telephone poles. It actually feels like an actual sort of farm. So I'm just going to move this along a little bit. All the way at the end of this road, we have our giant pig pen. This thing's actually huge now that I'm kind of like up and close and personal with it. But it will be a lot better when we actually get some pigs in here and we can actually add food and some of the other things that the pigs would probably really appreciate. This is the pylon. Preferably, it would be connected to other pylons, kind of in the same way that those are there. But once again, that kind of requires some more building around this so that we are able to do that. And even so, even if we never connect it to anything, I think that it looks really good like this. This is the little bee section of the farm. We just have a bunch of beehives on stands. I did also consider adding some hives into the trees as well, but I don't necessarily want just a bunch of bees flying around at the moment. The farm itself is pretty much untouched. We've just expanded it this way and added just a bunch of bay bales is what I was about to say. Let's try that again. Hay bales. And you can see that this leads us into just a bunch of windmills, and I've kind of like dug a trench here, so we're able to actually access these. I don't know whether it'd be better to fence them off or not, but I'm going to leave this like this for now. But it feels like a very natural way to kind of like connect all of these together. I'm also not sure whether I should remove this wall as well between the two fences. We've got some saplings here which I'm just going to allow to grow whenever they decide to. The wind farm itself is, I believe, completely unchanged. We just moved its location. The last little bit of this, of course, is in between these hills and these trees. Hidden amongst all of this plant life is, of course, the plantar farm from Amphibia, which just seems like a perfect fit here. I really like this. I think that it fits in really, really nicely. Obviously, it doesn't make sense to have like a mythical frog amphibian ran farm here in amongst all of these other like real world realistic builds, but you guys know that I love to add stuff like this, and I think that this is the perfect build to have chosen. If that makes grammatical sense. I'm not sure it does, and I'm not gonna think about it too much. That's it, guys. That is renovation number 1. That is how we are going to slowly but surely improve our city over time. Every single month we are going to do something like this, maybe even more frequently, although it does take a really, really long time.
Thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this tutorial, please remember to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Also, consider becoming a channel member. You will gain access to loyalty badges, some fun emojis, and a monthly download for every single build used in our city. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.